I mean, how much was that goal towards the end? I mean, for me, it was a massive killer blow because you saw the atmosphere in that stadium, you know, and then everyone was just kind of like filtering out like we hadn't even won at the end of that game, wasn't it?
Yeah, and obviously it's an amazing result to go into a second leg away. I always said we needed a 3 goal lead, but then it's that goal, and it's if we turn up and we have a bad or slow start, I just feel it could put a lot of pressure on the boys. So I'm just hoping we do, as you said in the green room just before, we do what we did in Frankfurt. We go out there, we play the game we need to play. And obviously, the team news that we've lost Madison, I think that's a big blow for the rest of the season, not even just that one game. I feel like he's a player that's picking up form, and Kulusevski seems to have struggled as of late. So I'm just hoping we come out the traps early. If we get an early goal, then I think we're clean sailing. If we concede, I'll be hiding behind the sofa.
Guards, we can't have nice things here at Tottenham because, you know, you think just as we get a clean bill of health, bang, Bergvall out, Maddison out, just at the time where we need them the most going into this second leg. And then you look at, you know, the other semi-final with Manchester United. They're getting Amad Diallo back. They're starting to hit, getting a few results at the moment. How much of a blow is that Maddison injury for you?
Yeah, do you know what? Again, it's the way as a Spurs fan, isn't it? The stress it causes you, because I think you met, like you just mentioned to Jay about that goal that Bodo scored. Obviously, I was at the game. The atmosphere was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We could definitely not knock any of the fans that turned up and come in full voice, but I was deflated at 3-1. I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, look, you've won 3-1 in the semi-final." Yeah, I get that completely, but I just think if we'd have gone there with a 3-0 result, I just think we're basically there. That goal has just changed everything, the whole complexity and of the game at their place. And then to add to that, the injuries, to have Maddison and Bergvall both missing is huge, because I think we talk about Frankfurt and the job we did there. They were instrumental in that game, especially Bergvall. I felt like he got up the pitch so well. He was around, you know, in and around it, and he calmed everybody down at such a young age. And I think again, Maddison, he was, he was dictating. He was picking the ball up in areas where a lot of players wouldn't feel comfortable. And I think with them two missing, it is huge. I don't know how we really replace that. I know people have been mentioning Basuma and Bentancur. I'm not sure if we need legs with Sarr in there. Kulusevski's not really been in the form that he was prior to his injury. It's a worry. Well, again, like a great, 3-1, would we have taken it before kickoff? Probably would have, with the form we've been in. But I think being 3-0 up and in control, that goal was really, really knocks a bit of confidence. Certainly out myself. I know other fans might think differently, but and especially with those injuries to add to it, So it's a real worry. It's a concern.
I was listening to Ange after the game, and he said he was talking about this after the Bodo game, and he was talking about how, like in the last leg against Frankfurt, even though they drew the home leg, the way they kind of dominated and were the better team and knowing they should have won, kind of gave them confidence to go into that second leg and play the way they did and go and get the win away from home, even though it's theoretically getting a draw at home then going away is not the result you want, and it's theoretically it's a tough ask to go away from home when you haven't won at home. When you look at that first leg against Bodo, the way we I know we're expecting a tougher time in Bodo, but the way we kind of restricted them for a lot of that game, they had one shot on target, which they unfortunately did score from, but you got to take a bit of confidence that we did completely nullify them for a lot of that game, I think, and maybe that's what the team will be feeling.
I think, again, you're spot on, Sim. You've got to take that confidence away. But I think there's a few things that, again, that's me. This is probably me. I don't want to sound negative because it's just us. It's built in us, right? As Spurs fans, there's always a worry in the back of our minds of what could happen. We're never comfortable. I think obviously they were missing some key players. That's why I think their midfielder, the captain, two midfielders, captain. I think a centre back and their first choice striker, which I believe 3 are back for Thursday, and obviously now we've lost Bergvall and Maddison for the next leg. The performance was, like you say, against Frankfurt, and then going to Bodo. It's just, I suppose it's the artificial pitch. We can look at Tamworth again. I know people were saying we put not as strong a side out, but it was just side definitely more than capable of beating them. We didn't perform. We struggled. I think people overlook the artificial pitch quite a lot. Ball travels quicker. It bounces differently. I think if you played football, you know the difference between artificial and real grass. It's not as straightforward as it seems, just kind of adapting to one to the other. And I think, again, the weather conditions can add to that as well. Small enclosed pitch, kind of similar to maybe like what Bournemouth like a Bournemouth style pitch, but we're on an artificial pitch. I don't know. For me, it's not a foregone conclusion, and I'm just praying we do the job and get through on Thursday night.
It's very similar. Remember back in 2010 when we played Young Boys? Yeah, they had that artificial pitch, and we we were down in the dumps in that first leg. We just about got away with a 3-2. We were 3-0 down in 20 minutes, weren't we?
Two goals back.
We couldn't adjust to that pitch, and we took them back to the lane and battered them 4-0.
Yeah. Was it Crouch or Pavlyuchenko?
Crouch got the hat-trick in the second leg.
That was it, yeah.
But we were 3-0 down, and we were basically heading out of the Champions League. We'd somehow clawed it back to 3-2.
That was the first time back in the Champions League. We're all buzzing, and we're playing Young Boys. Yeah, we're going to smash Young Boys. And then we're 3-0 down in the first leg.
I just remember, after 20 minutes, we were struggling so much to adjust that pitch. I remember, they were just lobbing the ball forward, and the bounce would, stick instead of, go forward to the keeper and things. And when they would play, a through ball, the ball would hold up, and it meant their strikers could run onto it rather than our defenders getting there. And I just hope we don't go through something similar next week. But Andrew said he's not going to train on a plastic pitch.
Decky said that he wants to train on the plastic pitch that they have at Tottenham, and just saying they're not going to do it. But Jay, do you feel like there's a narrative not just within the Spurs fan base, but just universally, saying Spurs are already in the final, Man United are already in the final? Do you reckon, people are just completely underestimating Bodo here with the likes of how good their home form is, and as Gars mentioned, all the players that they're coming back for the second leg as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think their European home record's something like 85% in the last 20 years. Says everything you need to know. Don't get me wrong. We go in there 2-0 up. Theoretically, we've got a 2-goal lead, but we've also seen a Tottenham side before that can shift 7 goals in a game and still look horrendous. So I know it's not really comparing apples with apples if you're saying Bodo, but at the end of the day, any team can be dangerous. I'm hoping these players' attitude is that the main focus is Europa League, because if you look at, for example, the weekends, if you go back the week before, it does seem all teed up that the players are really gunning for it. So I just hope the players don't go out there and think the job's done, because in my opinion, if you're in a European semi-final, regardless of the score, anything can happen. We've seen it when we went to Ajax. We've seen it when Liverpool done it to Barcelona. I'm not saying these teams are the same, but ultimately Tottenham's not the same Tottenham it was many moons ago. We're still one of these teams that if we are having a bad day, we have bad days. So for me,
many bad days.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's just it's one of these things, and people go in, oh yeah, we're already in the final. The same as I wouldn't necessarily say United are definitely in a final. You're never definitely in the final until the final whistle goes. So I'm just hoping the boys can get it done. We've finally got something to look forward to, and yeah, just the support out there of the 423 fans that are going is heard far and wide.
Yeah,
you only have to look at
to be one of them.
Yeah, 100%. You only have to look at Bodo's last leg against Lazio last game. Exactly the same thing happened.
They battered them up.
I know it was the opposite side. They played home first, but literally away from home, very similar. They lost 3-1. It was in extra time. They lost 3-1. It was a very dominant performance from Lazio. And at the home game, Bodo completely took them to the cleaners. And Lazio were lucky it was only 2-0. To be honest, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
So you only have to take that as a cautionary tale. And to be honest, this is how Bodo have been getting to how they've gotten to this semi-final is not due to their away form, it's due to their home form. It's basically making sure there's damage limitation away and bringing teams back to their ground and battering them. That's pretty much how they've got here. So I don't think this wasn't part of the script for Bodo, how it's been so far, in my opinion, if you know what I mean.
The reality is I'm just so frustrated that we didn't put it on beyond all doubt in that first leg, because we played well enough and dominated them more than enough to win 4 or 5-0 in that first leg. And if it is 4 or 5-0, then that's it. It's game, set and match. But looking into this second leg, guys, do you feel like it should be same again, same formation, I know Maddison can't play, but you're swapping him for a Kulusevski, or would you like to see a formation change up here?
Do you know what? Again, just before I get into that, we were talking about. I've still got nightmares from Kevin Prince Boateng in the semi-final against Portsmouth. I think that's the last time fans were talking about the final before we even got there, and that still scars me to this day. So that's why, hence why I never count my chickens.
But guys, if we wouldn't have lost that game to Portsmouth, would we have beaten Arsenal and Chelsea in the space of a week after that? So
yeah, absolutely, yeah. There you go. So yeah, I suppose so. You can put that spin on it as well. Do you know what? It's such a good question there, Ben, because I think in a weird way, I think for Ange, because I know there's a lot of criticism around him, and some of it rightly so. But obviously Europe, he's got a big job, and we're there to support the team. I think he's a bit damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because I think a lot of people, and I think myself, maybe have been looking at the 3-5-2 with Kevin Danzo coming in. If he does that and we get destroyed, he's going to be absolutely, it's going to be toxic, isn't it? And it's going to be, what's he doing? And if he doesn't do it, I think on the other hand, people will be like, why didn't he do that? And so forth. So I think I would stick with the formation we've been playing with, just because it's such a big game. Why would you do it now? Although I can see the pros to free at the back, I can also see the cons with it being something that the players are not potentially used to in such a big game. I think it's the midfield's key, because they've got their two best players back apparently in midfield. Again, I don't know too much about Bodo, but I'm told it's their best players. Now that midfield battle's key. Bentancur's been playing really well lately. I think Basuma's obviously put his name in the hat. And then, do you go with Kulusevski or Sarr? Do you shore it up with Sarr with a bit of legs in there, or do you go with Kulusevski, who can maybe make something happen? It's a difficult one, because before his injury, Kulusevski would be nailed on first name on the sheet. Now there's some concerns around him and how he's been performing. Do you look at Sarr, who can get around the pitch and maybe add those legs and be a bit more sturdy, but also can get forward? That's probably only one that I would look at potentially. I mean, again, Johnson, he's such a frustrating player, isn't he? Because his stats are unbelievable, but then he's just so ineffective during games at times, and you just want him to do more, go at a man, beat somebody, and just doesn't tend to do it, does he? Just tends to go missing. Like in the first minute, you think, we're on the up, and then he just goes missing for about 70 minutes of it. Do you stick with him?
Results in this game, right? So Brennan Johnson, he puts the ball in the back of the net.
Absolutely. So you say you stick with him, and then do you stick with Solanke probably through the middle? Yes. And then do you go tell Richarlison? I mean, a lot of
people even calling for Mikey Moore after his cameo on the weekend.
Again, for me, Mikey Moore, great prospect. I think we've got to be very careful with him as a 17-year-old to rely on him to go into European semi-final and think he can just go in and do the business. I'd be looking for a bit more experience personally. That's not being taking a pop at Mikey, because he's got a brilliant future with us. I would just be very cautious of sticking him in that type of game. I mean, again, the one that
Yamal didn't do badly in the semi-final.
Yeah, I think the one change I'd Porro and Spence is the one that I would have question marks on. And the reason why, I think Spence defensively is better, and I think we may need him defensively. I think Porro, again, going forward, is the better player, but it depends how attacking we're going to be. So if we're going to look to be a bit more defensive, a bit more assured, I'd look at putting Spence right back. I'd potentially look at Sarr over Kulusevski, just in with Bentancur and Basuma. And then I'd probably say Johnson. And I probably would go Richarlison as well. I think he's got, in those kind of games, I think he's got a bit of metal about him. I think he likes to put himself about. I think he'll add that experience. He works hard. I think we just got to go for a hard-working side that can put themselves about a bit and make it difficult for Bodo on the night. So that's probably what I would look at.
In terms of the Spence Porro situation or question, I think that what Porro brings you as well with his passing from deep, that he can just pop one over the top to get us in behind, and Bodo will probably playing a high line, right? The only problem is that we're not going to have Maddison to make those runs that Porro likes to bind him with. But Jay, are you in agreement? Pretty much a similar team, maybe Kulusevski instead of Maddison, or would you put a Sarr there? I mean, I would hate to see that midfield three of Sarr, Bentancur, Basuma. I think we have kind of seen similar at the likes of Liverpool, and it just hasn't gone well by any stretch of the imagination. But where are you at with it, Jay?
Yeah, see, obviously for me at the moment, we know Solanke's not running at 100%. Putting him onto a 4G pitch when he's got hip problems and a leg problem, is that going to be smart? I don't think he starts up top. I think we go Richie up top, which then comes to who does go on the left. I think Tell should. Tell's done bits. He's not exactly been amazing. You couldn't pick any of them players out and say they've been amazing in every game. So I'd agree with that. With the 10, I think we do need a creative player, somebody that is going to try and run. And with Sarr, for me, I prefer him as a player that comes off the bench when he's running against not tired legs, but he can get about, he can hustle a bit, he can really mix up in the middle. So it's a tough one for me. But as for the defence, I think Porro, the last time we watched him on an Astro, he had arguably his worst game in a Spurs shirt. He got torn about by a guy that works in Zara. So for me, Spence, I'm definitely putting Spence at right back. And other than that, you can't really disagree. Although Danso has looked solid when he has played, admittedly. And as for the Mikey Moore call, the issue is these 17 and 18-year-olds, although they're inexperienced, one, he seems to have a bit of confidence about him, but two, they've actually got a bit of they're used to playing on artificial pitches due to the levels of where they've been. So a lot of the academies nowadays are artificial. The Spurs training grounds ones that the academy players train on is artificial. So yeah, for me, I'd like to see him come off the bench. So yeah, there's not too much I'll change from what God said, really.
No formation change for you.
No, I'd keep it as it is. I'd stick with a three up top. Johnson is the type of player that will do absolutely nothing but score probably one of the most important games in recent years for us. So I'm on his back too much. And for me, it's just getting behind the boys and supporting them.
There's a bit of a narrative forming within mainly the Arsenal fan base and some media saying Europa League winners shouldn't be getting Champions League football. I've seen Arsene Wenger pipe up with it a couple of days ago with Keys and Gray. And I've never, ever heard this narrative ever since, only because Spurs are in a semi-final of a European competition and they're looking like they could be going out in the Champions League this week. And I think they're just shitting themselves that Spurs could win a trophy this year and Arteta will be 5 years without one. I mean, what's your take on that, guys? I mean, is it a bit of nonsense for you?
Yeah, I think so. Like, look, the Europa League, I know they talk about it. It's changed its format slightly, and the Champions League teams can't drop into it, which I think actually is right. I think that's the correct way to do it. I think while you're knocked out of competition, should you go into another one? To win this competition isn't easy. I think a lot of people are kind of like saying, "Oh, the quality's not there," but there's teams like Lazio, Frankfurt, Man United. I know they've not had a great season, but they're still, one of the biggest teams in the world. Bilbao, they're not bad. So I don't think they're fourth in La Liga. Yeah. There's some teams in there. Roma, they got knocked out. This isn't a poor standard Europa League. I think this narrative that there's no good sides in there. I mean, it's rubbish as far as I'm concerned. And to win to win any competition isn't easy. But to win that competition, it's tough, and there should be an incentive. I know there's people saying you should play in it again. But if you've won it, why not be able to go up into the next stage of competition, which is the Champions League? I think it's a good thing personally. I think it's like the conference as well. If you win that, you go into the Europa League. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's the right way to do it. You're the winners of that competition, so why not be put up into the higher competition? So I say ever since Tottenham and Man United potentially might be getting to a final, this conversation has randomly come out. I'm pretty sure if it was Bilbao and Bodo Glimt, then nobody would bat an eyelid, and it would just be as you were.
Wenger said winning the Europa League should only qualify you for the Europa League.
It's ridiculous.
It's not like it's like saying Leeds should only qualify to go back to the Championship.
I didn't hear all this when Chelsea played Arsenal in the Europa League final.
No.
We were in the Champions League final. No one said it then.
No, it was all completely ignored, and just like you say, as you were, it just seems to be there's a narrative. I think Andrew's mentioned it a few times actually. I think he's right. That's one thing I do back him with is when it comes to Spurs, we seem to get attacked quite a lot, and there's not many people that will stick up for us as a club in the media. Even I think like Matt Law, who I like Matt, but he does come out with like the Nottingham Forest shout and said, if Spurs getting all and Forest don't, it's a travesty and things like that. And I just think it's utter rubbish. You're winning a European competition amongst other big European clubs. There should be a reward for it, and for it to be the Champions League, absolutely. Why not?
They always try and stop us from getting that Champions League spot. You remember back in when we lost, we finished top four, but Chelsea won the Champions League. We missed out last season.
They changed the laws the year after.
They literally changed the laws the year after. Last season, we finished fifth and didn't get it. Yet this season, fifth does get it. They're always trying to change things so that we don't get that Champions League spot. Now they're saying, Europa League shouldn't be a Champions League spot because Tottenham might win it. That's what I feel like at the moment.
And you know what, lads? That's hence what Ange says as well. You know, Ange has been vocal about that quite a lot in his press conferences to say about, you know, a lot of the media and so forth and other football figures tend to get on Tottenham, maybe because we're an easy target. But it does seem to be like there's a narrative around us. When something looks to be positive, people try and shoot it down a bit. So no, I'm all for us for the competition, the winners to go into Champions League. I think that's a great prize for the winner, and I'm all for it. Should never change.
Why does fifth place deserve Champions League more than Europa League winner? No one has a problem with fifth place getting it.
No, it doesn't.
But all of a sudden, you're winning a whole competition, a whole tournament, and getting a trophy, that's less worthy, apparently.
Only when Tottenham are in the final. That's it. Only when Tottenham. If it was flipped around and Arsenal were in the final now and it was the first year of this new format of this Europa League, everyone would be like, Arsenal, what a team, winning the Europa League, and what they've had to suffer through such hardships this season. You know what I mean? It would completely spin the whole narrative.
Winning a trophy Arsenal have never won in their history, and that's not worthy of a Champions League spot. But what do you reckon, Jay? Is there any kind of something to it? What they're saying?
And there's nothing to it. It's been like it for 12 years. There's never been a complaint. And all of a sudden now it's United and Tottenham, who historically are having bad seasons. Both of us, if you want to get technical, we're the part of the big six. So this is a freak season for us to be where we are. To say, just because you've won the European trophy, you don't deserve to go up into the next. It's just a bit of a myth. Obviously, United, okay, there is the fair case. They had a poor league finish and they got into the Europa League through winning the FA Cup last season, I think it was. But to sit there and say, if you win a European major trophy, you don't deserve to go up to the next level, it's a bit bewildering and baffling, because when West Ham won the Conference League, there was no callback for them not to go into the Europa League.
Yeah.
So... yeah, it's just one of these things. It's because it's Tottenham, there seems to be this uproar. So ultimately, do you know what? It's going to make it, if we do win it, and touch wood we do, it's going to make it 10 times better seeing all the sour grapes being eaten all over Twitter.
Absolutely. Just finish off this segment. I'm going to ask you both for score predictions for Thursday. Guards?
1-0.
1-0. I'll take it right now. I'll take a 2-1 loss right now, to be fair.
Yeah.
Jay?
I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to go 2-2. But it's just hopefully they don't score early on. If they score early on, then I think my confidence will go a bit.
Sim?
I'm going to go 2-1 Bodo.
Yeah, I'm feeling that as well, to be fair.
2-0 down. 90th minute, Brennan Johnson tapping into the back post.
Yeah, I'm liking that. And I'll take it all on. The most glorious 2-1 loss of all time.
Absolutely.